This is Hope for Your Pelvic Floor, the podcast where we stop managing women's symptoms and start making sense of their bodies. I'm Claire Sparrow, Pilates educator, pelvic health specialist, and best-selling author. And here we talk honestly about what women are told, what the evidence actually says, and how real change happens. Welcome back, everyone. It's another episode. Today, we're talking about how important it is that your pelvic floor has some variety. So the exercises that we choose to do need to be varied because the responsibility of our pelvic floor is very, very varied. Maybe you've been told, go off and do your pelvic floor exercises every day. Maybe you've been advised to download an app. You know, you hear me say this all the time. And so you do it. You squeeze it, you hold it, you repeat, and yet maybe nothing really changes, or it improves for a while and then plateaus. Or it makes the symptoms that you were experiencing worse, or it gives you symptoms you didn't know you had or didn't have before, but it doesn't quite cut the mustard one way or another. Or maybe you've joined my Whole Body Pelvic Health membership and you found your absolute favorite classes and you just keep doing the exact same class every day. And maybe you were getting great improvement and then that plateaus. It doesn't mean that these things are not working. It just means that your pelvic floor needs a lot more variety than we're giving it. It's why there isn't a one size fits all. It's why Kegels are so limited for our pelvic floor. Your pelvic floor is not like, the button of the light when you go in the room, you switch it on and then boom, you're sorted. It's a living, responsive part of your entire body. It really is part of your body-wide ecosystem. And like any system, it really thrives on variety. So in this episode, I'm going to share with you some of the ways that we need to consider variety, what it actually really means, and of course, some tips on how you can introduce more variety into whatever exercise you are doing in support of your pelvic health. And the first place I think we should begin really is about why is repetition alone just not really enough? And you probably actually already know, and it's a bit cringy that I'm going to say it, because when I say it, you'll go, yeah, I do know, because you do. I'm sure that you would make sure that you gave variety of exercise to any other area of the body or your whole body. You know that if you just keep doing the same thing, you will plateau. But when it comes to our pelvic floor, it's so concealed or so almost secret, this idea of the pelvic floor exercises that we need to do, that we don't always apply the same logic to it. And that's why I'm here. I am here to point these things out to you, to help you on that journey to hope for your pelvic floor. So firstly, I want to break that down a little bit. Why your body needs different stimuli so that it will adapt instead of plateau. Firstly, muscles. So we know that muscles in our body, wherever they are, they respond to load, to weight, to doing activity with them. Like your biceps, when you lift something up, your bicep has to respond to the load of that. You're not saying, bicep, come on, contract so I can lift my cup of coffee this morning. It just does it. It responds, okay? Same with your pelvic floor. And then you've heard me before talk about fascia. Fascia's absolutely incredible. It's abundant in our body. It's highly sensory. It's the largest sensory organ in our entire body. It feels stuff. And so its response is more to do with direction and variation. It is incredible at helping your muscles do their thing when there's more variety in the direction. So, for example, if you always go to the gym and ride the bike, and then all day at work you're sitting down on a chair at your desk, and you never do anything which turns your body and twists you, you adapt to just that one range of movement. That we call it sagittal, just in case you're interested, that one way, that one direction. Whereas if we move in all directions, bingo, we're doing so much more. And of course, this applies to your whole body, not just your pelvic health. And then we've talked a little bit before about bone health and how we need to put stress onto the bones and variety of changing stress on the bones and the load that needs to change in order for the bones to help the bones to change and adapt. So if you're always, like I said again, if you're sitting and then riding the bike, you're not doing something that changes the type of load, stress, push, pull through your bones. And I know when I say these things, I'm thinking as I say it, wow, it really does make sense. Am I doing that? As I think about myself on the cross trainer and on the seated bike at the gym, maybe I also need to take this on board. We're all human. And then the final thing, and you've heard me talk a lot before about how our nervous system plays such an important role in our pelvic health and how it supports our ability to adapt and not plateau is that it needs a bit of novelty. Your brain needs a little bit about change, different challenges, different novelty. Maybe you go and play paddle for a change, or maybe you go on even just a different cross trainer at the other side of the gym will be novelty for your nervous system and will help it to adapt and change. And these are the key things to consider when you're looking at the exercise that you're actually doing now, holistically, not just for your pelvic health. Often the exercises we're told to do, you lie down on your back, bend your knees, squeeze your pelvic floor. It's really not when your pelvic floor is needed in real life when you lay down on your back. Usually it's during dynamic activities or it's coughing and sneezing. So if you're only ever training your pelvic floor by squeezing it, it's only ever going to learn how to respond to you telling it to squeeze in that situation. And I know this is something I've told you many, many times before, and it warrants repeating because we are surrounded by do your Kegels, download this app, do your pelvic floors, and also the laughs and jokes about, oh yeah, I weed myself when I went for a run. And maybe you're not okay with that and you want something a little bit more. All right. So now we kind of know why, this is really important. I also want to share with you how the pelvic floor is actually a diaphragm, which is a team player. Does not act alone. It is so well supported and hidden and kind of concealed almost within the pelvis. You have all of the leg muscles working in support of your pelvic floor. You've got all of the muscles of your torso working in support. You've got the all-important diaphragm. Your breathing works in support of your pelvic floor. If you're highly stressed or you're holding your tummy in, you are not allowing the diaphragm to work with your pelvic floor, your pelvic diaphragm. This is huge. Even today, you could just think about letting your belly go, letting your glutes go, and allowing your breathing diaphragm and your pelvic diaphragm to get reacquainted. And that alone will start to improve the function of your pelvic floor. So your team body, your whole body, it's your movement of your spine, your ribs, if you're cinching your waist in or even wearing tight corseting bras or sports bras, they are preventing you from breathing, preventing your spine from moving freely. And that is connected to your pelvic floor. A big, big thing that's a game changer for a lot of people. Somebody was mentioning this exact thing to me yesterday, how introducing exercises for the feet have improved her pelvic floor function because we have restricted our feet often. We wear shoes a lot, and that means that your feet can't move and meet the ground and work on their mobility, their strength and flexibility. And in turn, the messages get diluted up into your pelvic floor. Whereas if we get strong messages from the feet up into your pelvic floor, it's a game changer. Even just one little thing like improving the bend at your ankle joint. So when you squat or you climb the stairs, the front of the ankle has to bend. The more that you can bend the ankle joint, the more your hip can bend. And that means the more your pelvic floor can lengthen at the back. And that's the biggest surface area of your pelvic floor. So it has to lengthen so it can then ping and spring and activate back in to support whatever it is that you're doing in your life that needs your pelvic floor to be responsive. It also responds to speed, to changes in pace or impact, rotational movements, that variety that we talked about. One of the things I love to do is to do the arm movement from a Pilates exercise called the 100. It's a super famous movement, and it might be one that ordinarily you might think, oh, I can't do that because, I have to lift my head up and it looks really strong and it requires a lot and it might put pressure on my pelvic floor. Actually, if you do the arm movement of that, it will help you to stimulate the intelligence of your pelvic floor, the responsiveness of your pelvic floor, not put pressure or load on it, but help it to do its job. Because its job is not to wait for you to tell it, squeeze. Its job is to do whatever you need it to do in the moment, absolutely spontaneously. And also resilience as well, with resilience that it can do over and over again. And that takes me on really to the idea of, what strength is. We are told we need to strengthen our pelvic floor. And actually, if we strengthen and squeeze it without the adaptability and all the variety that we're talking about, it actually makes it quite fragile. And true resilience comes from the variation. True strength comes from the variation. As a Polestar Pilates educator, we teach our students the importance of exactly that we're not strengthening in isolation. It's coming from the control of movement, the control of variety that gives us true strength and true resilience. So hopefully you're convinced that we need to do more than just squeezing. We need to do more than just our favorite exercises. We need to introduce some variety. And of course, your mind might be going, well, what does that even mean in real life practical terms? So as you know, I like to give you some specifics that you can work on. So here are some examples that you could be doing. If you always do exercises lying down, do something seated, do some movement standing, remembering that as we became vertical, we are upright beings, and that's how our system is designed to work. Whatever it is, it adapts when we move. But this is going to be where we're optimally aligned when we're vertical. So if we can do it there and then challenge maybe by coming into a quadruped position, so on all fours. And then lying is actually in some ways easier and in some ways more challenging. The most important thing is that you're not always just doing the same thing lying down. Maybe you could also change the sort of load. It might be that, let's go with the cross trainer example, that you go and use the cross trainer at the gym. I like the cross trainer because it gives me a little bit of rotation through my upper body and not just fixed. And I use pretty much a range of resistance from 0 up to whatever the maximum is, and I play with that throughout the time. So perhaps that's something that you could do with the exercises that you're doing. Are you using resistance bands or weights? Could you use more or less? Are you on the reformer? Could you use less spring to make more of your body wake up and support you? So your pelvic floor has to go, okay, I'm going to negotiate this and figure it out, and it will step up to the plate. Then, as I said before, there's speed, like varying the pace of what you're doing. Are you always doing slow, controlled, and therefore not training your body for when your pelvic floor is really needed? If you need it for a quick response for a cough or a sneeze, then you know you need to change the speed of the movement sometimes to train your body. Maybe you do a quadruped exercise in your Pilates class where you stretch opposite arm and leg out. Maybe you could do it more quickly, or maybe you hold it there so you're sustaining it and changing the speed that way. There is so much we can do to vary what we are doing so that your pelvic floor can adapt and become more resilient. Another couple of things, are you using different directions? You know, my top tip is to put the toilet roll on the cistern behind you, so every time you go, you have to twist to get it. It is vital for our whole body, our spine, and our pelvic health that we do more ranges of movement, more rotation, more side bending movements. It's huge, absolutely huge. So when you're practicing at home, ask yourself, am I covering all of these things? Maybe even finally, it's about changing context. Are you changing the breath pattern to challenge yourself? It is easier for the pelvic floor to activate on the exhale, and it might not always be in real life on the exhale that you need it. So let's make sure we vary it. Are you walking? Are you lifting different things? Are you doing anything for impact? So changing that context, which all of these examples work perfectly for you if you are a woman with prolapse, if you are worried about lifting things, if you have any kind of incontinence, stress or urge, if you are peri or menopausal. This is huge, really, really important. And if you're on my membership, all of these examples that I've given apply to you. This means doing the monthly live and on-demand class that I give you, because you can trust 100% that I'm doing the thinking for you. I'm the one that's going, okay, are we getting a variety of ranges of movement, novelty? Are we varying the positions? All of that. That's my job and I love it. And I'm doing that. So you know, if you do those classes, you're getting what you need. And then when it is that you choose your own classes in the membership to do, pick based on variety and your body's needs, which you have begun to develop a really good understanding of because of the process, the assessments, everything that we do in the membership. So knowing what your body needs overall and in that moment versus your favorites. I know you go to that class because it's comforting, it's comfortable, it's maybe easy on your mind after a stressful day. And I get that. I really, really do. And also being challenged to think and move in different ways is also going to be de-stressing and calming. It's going to distract you from the busy day. So we may need to feel a little bit out of our comfort zone for our body to adapt and change. And this is true for pelvic health or just in general, whatever your goals are for your body. Avoiding movement doesn't build the resilience that I know that you are looking for, but graded exposure, variety, really, really does. Before we wrap up this episode today, I also wanted to share a little bit about why this is important down the road, long term. It's why it all brings hope for your pelvic floor. If you're just doing the same old, you might get some short-term improvement and you will plateau. You'll end up avoiding real life changes, and you will then avoid the challenges that life brings. You'll stop doing the activities that you really want to do. You will end up on the sidelines. You might even lose confidence in yourself and in your body because you're not getting the support from your pelvic floor. However, if you do build in more variety, your pelvic floor will become responsive. And that is the holy grail, that it knows what to do when you ask it without having to consciously ask it to. It learns how to anticipate what's coming. It will know before you cough, a cough is coming, and it will anticipate and it will support you for that. It will adapt to the unpredictability of life because we're not just walking a straight road. We might go in the woods and have to negotiate routes and uneven ground. It's important that we can adapt to all of the variety and unpredictability of life and of the world that we are in. And if you are building variety, it becomes part of your whole body strength, which makes you feel so much more powerful, capable, strong, empowered as a woman, because your pelvic floor is part of this whole system, your amazing whole body. And your pelvic floor doesn't just need to be strong, it needs to be adaptable. Life is varied, so your training, your exercises must be varied too. Final couple of takeaways for you. Don't abandon your pelvic floor work. Just expand on it. Build on it. Make sure the exercises that you do involves being in lots of varied positions, lots of different orientations to gravity, and gradually expose yourself to real life situations. It's not just pelvic floor when you're doing pelvic floor exercises, it's pelvic floor for you to live an abundant, fabulous life. So live it. Give yourself some challenges where you can apply, your pelvic floor can apply its spontaneity and its ability to anticipate. Where in your practice are you repeating out of habit rather than progressing with intention? Ask yourself, really and truly, am I just going along in a habit rather than really asking myself what I want to progress towards with deep intention? Oh, it's been a long time coming, actually, sharing this message about the importance of variety. I've written it down multiple times in the Pelvic Health Cafe. Must talk about this on the podcast. So here we are. I really hope that this is helpful. Hope doesn't come from doing more of the same. It comes from variety. If this episode shifted how you think about your body, that conversation continues inside the Pelvic Health membership, where I teach you how to apply this work, these concepts, this variety into your real life, gently, progressively, and without fear. You'll find the link for that in the show notes below. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I really appreciate you giving your time and care to yourself and your pelvic health. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from today, it's this. You are not broken, you are not behind, and you are definitely not alone. There is hope for your pelvic floor, and I look forward to seeing you next time.